Beck and welcome to a video where I keep myself accountable for my reading goals. At certain points during the beginning, middle and end of the year, I check in with my goals. I do my twice a year tag, so consider liking, subscribing if you want to see more of my goals and what things I meet, because this year I actually finished my entire to be read pile, which I thought was impossible, but I also filmed a in 2024 I want to video at the start of this year in January, and I wanted to check in with that, and I've written myself a list of notes because I went and rewatched that video. So now I can actually go, yeah, it's like 3 months until the end of the year, which is terrifying. I don't want to think about it. What have I actually achieved this year so far? And what do I need to hold myself accountable for? Read 70 books was my goal this year. And I've gone back and forth. I've changed it to 80. I've changed it to 60. But at the moment I'm sitting on a goal of 60. I've read 49, almost 50 books. I reckon I'll finish another one today. And so I'm 8 ahead of my reading goal. So I probably could get to 80 if I really pushed it. But I also have a few rereads coming up this year. And some of that involves rereading the Stormlight Archive, which is 1,000 pages each. So I know that takes up time, so I don't want reading longer books to take away from my challenge of reading a quantity of books, if that makes sense. Quality over quantity, because I know those are 5 stars for me, so I want to prioritize them. So I think I will end up meeting that 60 book goal. Then I've got read more physical books, because I tend to pivot to audiobooks quite frequently because I commute to work, and then also when I'm cleaning my house, I now go, oh, I need to listen to an audiobook while I do it. So it actually makes me excited to clean, not the act of actually cleaning, but the time I'm excited to use to read. So I've very much associated cleaning and audiobooks, which is great, but I also have managed to actually read a bit more physically, because after work I'll sit down on the couch for about 30 minutes or more, and I make what I'm reading right now videos, which are weekly videos, and without physically reading during the week, I don't think those videos would get anywhere. But I've really motivated myself in making that content and keeping myself accountable weekly to reading more on the couch. And it's actually productive. I'm reading more than I thought I would be. So I would consider that goal a success so far. It is also how I finished The Way of Kings, which is the first Stormlight book, which I'm proud of because those are long books, and I've committed to doing my favorite moments and quotes and best bits videos for each of those books so that I can kind of hit a milestone every time I finish one. So I finished The Way of Kings in 3 weeks, which if you are taking care of a house, seeing people and friends socially, and also working full time, I think that is an achievement. Another one is use my library more, and I actually haven't got stats for this one, but I know that I read books at my library quite frequently because Audible is expensive. Instead of Audible, I've gone down the route of audiobooks at my library, and I do semi-regular check-ins for my library TBR, which I will link in the description if you're interested. So I think I have been utilizing my library more. I haven't been using it for physical books, so maybe that's the next hurdle that I need to consider, because going to my library is a little bit difficult when I'm working full time and it takes a while for me to get back home, so I don't really want to go anywhere else, and then I pack my weekends with, seeing friends or working out. So yeah, maybe that's something else I need to factor into my routine, because there was no room in my routine before for physically reading, and now I've made some time, so maybe it's possible. Something that I did fail at a little bit though in terms of audiobooks is that I already obviously physically own the Stormlight Archive books, but then I went out and I purchased them on Audible because rereading them I found is easy on audio in between a bunch of other things, and if I want to physically switch between the audiobook and the physical book, it's much easier to do obviously if I've got the audiobook. So I purchased Oathbringer and Rhythm of War, which kind of goes against the whole going to my library to save on Audible credits, but sometimes we've got an outlier. I also set a very, very tiny priority TBR because I got frustrated that these were continuing to be on my reading list. So one of them is The Sunlit Man, then I've got Foundryside and also A Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon. So I finished Foundryside and Sunlit Man, and I have a review of The Sunlit Man as well, which is spoiler free. And then I did not finish A Day of Fallen Night. I got rid of that one because I didn't like the writing style. So I think I succeeded in that none of those are on my to be read pile anymore. Where I keep failing though is I always set myself a goal for the past couple of years to continue reading the Dresden Files. I love the Dresden Files. I don't know what's wrong with me. I keep failing at doing this. So I started a reread of the Dresden Files early this year, but then I stopped and fell off the bandwagon. And I think that's because in my mind, I have built the Dresden Files up, and whenever I finish reading one of them, I'm like, I need to make content for it. And that's really holding me back because the content that I made was in tandem with Dave because he's also rereading them. But then he stopped rereading them and I stopped rereading them. That meant we couldn't do our spoiler discussions every time we finished a book. And I just found it so hard to find time that we were both free for an hour to film a video together. So that held me back. I think I just need to ditch any ideas of doing content for them and just enjoy my reread of them, because my content is overtaking my enjoyment and that shouldn't be happening. This is a hobby, so I need to kind of rein in my own expectations of my reading experience, and then I'll be able to enjoy the Dresden Files again. Just on continuing more series, I had the Fragile Threads of Power to continue the Shades of Magic series. I did a whole recap for the Shades of Magic, and then I also actually read Fragile Threads of Power, didn't love it, did a review anyway. And then City of Stairs, I continued with City of Blades, DNF that one as well, which was unfortunate. And House Witch as well, I wanted to continue on audio because I've already got those in my Audible library, but I'm saving those until the more spooky season because they've got witch in the title, so those will be read this year. I think I'm fairly on track with continuing things as well. Then I was like, I'm going to be optimistic, and this is the last thing that I'm going to talk about because it's content related, and that was do one review per month in 2024. And I haven't even finished 2024 yet, and I've already got 14 reviews. So I have succeeded. I did rapid reviews for romance, and those are 1 minute long videos, and I did 7 of them in a row. So I thought, I'm going to do reviews. Here's a whole bunch of them at once. So I did all of those, but then obviously I've also talked about the Fragile Threads of Power. I also did a review for The Atlas Complex. I did The Sunlit Man as well, The Court of Wanderers by Rin Chapeko. I also did the Wayward Children book, but that didn't get many views. So I think people like me are tapering off with their interest in that series. And I also did The Bone Season as a review. And that leads me very nicely into talking about recaps, because I also wanted to do at least 1, maybe 2 recaps in a year to revitalize you before going into the different book in a series, for example. And I did my recap of The Bone Season, so that was a success. And then I've recently also finished the Mime Order, so that made me motivated to continue a series as well, so gold star. And then I also did a recap for Silver Under Nightfall by Rin Chapeko, and then I continued reading Court of Wanderers. I'm also doing kind of recaps for the Stormlight Archive in the sense that they are the best bits of each book and they go into different quotes. So it's a nice little like dipping your toe back into the series while also not rereading them entirely. So those have been really fun to do. And I do have one recap planned for the end of the year, potentially January-ish as well. So I've got some stuff in the works, and those videos, like reviews, are really hard to do. So as far as my goals go, I think I'm doing pretty well. I am hoping to get to 60 or bullet past 60 for my reading goal, but we'll see. That's the only really outlier for this video, but I have hope. So that is it for checking in with my reading goals. I think I'm fairly on track at the moment, and I think that's how I finished my whole to be read pile this year, by being very aware of it and going, I need to figure out when I'm going to read these books in between how I feel, depending on my mood. So I feel like I've nailed it, to be honest. I've done really well. I'm really proud of my progress. That said, I prefer a taboo read pile of at least 10 unread books, because if I have less than that, I found that I get a bit restless because I don't know what I want to read next. And 10 books is small enough that I can finish it in a couple of months, and it gives me options. So that has been my lesson learned this year, but thank you so much for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll talk to you in the comments, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.